Okay, when you hear the words Parkinson's disease, what's the very first thing that pops into your head? I bet for most of us, it's a tremor, but that's just a tiny piece of a much larger puzzle. Today, we're going to look beyond that common image to get the full picture. And even more importantly, we'll explore a proactive path forward that can really change the journey. So let's dive in.
So here's our game plan. We'll start by breaking down some of those common ideas about Parkinson's. Then we'll uncover the full range of symptoms and walk through the 5 stages of the disease. And once we really get a handle on the challenge, we'll shift gears and focus on the solution, a proactive plan built around physiotherapy and all the real, tangible benefits that come with it.
All right, first up, beyond the tremor. Let's start by unpacking that one-dimensional image that, well, pretty much all of us have of Parkinson's.
And look, that familiar image, it isn't totally wrong. I mean, tremors, stiffness, difficulty walking, those motor symptoms, they are absolutely hallmark signs of the disease. They're the things you can actually see.
But is that the whole story? Not even close. As you can probably guess, what we see on the surface is really just the tip of the iceberg.
So let's go a little deeper. Section 2 is all about the full symptom spectrum. And this is where the picture gets a whole lot more complex. You can basically sort the symptoms of Parkinson's into 2 big buckets. You've got the motor symptoms, which are all about movement, and then you've got the non-motor symptoms, which affect, well, pretty much everything else.
And this really shows that contrast perfectly. On the left, you see the stuff we know, the tremors, rigidity, and a clinical term, bradykinesia, which is just a fancy way of saying slowness of movement. But now, look over to the right. The non-motor symptoms are often the ones that have the biggest impact on quality of life. We're talking about things like depression, apathy, losing your sense of smell, chronic pain, and even serious sleep problems. These are the invisible battles.
And when you put all of that together, you get this. Now, this visual might seem a bit overwhelming, and honestly, that's the point. It's not just a simple list of issues. It's a complex, interconnected web of more than 30 different symptoms that can touch nearly every single moment of a person's day, from how they sleep to how they feel. And this web of symptoms, it also changes over time. That brings us right into our third section, the 5 stages. Understanding this progression is absolutely key to understanding why acting early is so incredibly important.
So the disease typically moves through 5 stages. It starts out really subtly, maybe a tremor in just one hand. By stage 2, it's usually affecting both sides of the body. Stage 3 is often a tipping point, where balance becomes a real issue and that increases the risk of falls. In stage 4, daily tasks get tough enough to need some assistance. And by stage 5, full-time care might become necessary as mobility becomes severely limited. Now, I know hearing that progression can sound daunting, but it is not a fixed destiny. Instead, what it really does is reveal a critical window of opportunity. This is where a proactive management plan comes in. I mean, when you look at those later stages, it makes one thing crystal clear. A passive, wait-and-see approach is just not the answer. The goal is to get in there early to slow that progression down and preserve function for as long as possible.
So here's the crucial point. Starting things like physiotherapy early doesn't just treat the symptoms you have today. It can actively help manage the disease's progression, improve mobility, and, most importantly, help you maintain your independence for a longer period of time.
So, how exactly does physiotherapy work in this context? Let's get into the specifics and break down the whole systematic process. This isn't just a bunch of random exercises. It's a continuous, personalized cycle. It all starts with a detailed assessment to see exactly what an individual is struggling with. From there, a custom exercise prescription is created. And this isn't about general fitness, it's super targeted. You have strength training to combat muscle weakness, and balance training that directly works to prevent falls. Gait training specifically goes after that characteristic shuffling walk, or the freezing episodes. And here's the most important part. This whole thing is a loop. The therapist is constantly monitoring progress and tweaking the plan, making sure it evolves right along with the patient's needs. And this whole structured approach isn't just some theory, it translates into very real, tangible benefits for patients. This process really delivers real-world results, and we're not just talking about small gains here. It's about fundamentally improving daily life. Better movement and fitness means more energy. Actively improving your balance means fewer dangerous falls, and it all leads to the single most important outcome: helping people maintain their independence and their control over their own lives for longer. Ultimately, this just shifts the entire perspective. It moves away from simply reacting to a diagnosis and moves toward actively participating in your own well-being. It's all about empowerment and taking control to preserve your quality of life.
And that brings us to a final, bigger question. What if we applied this proactive, empowerment-focused mindset not just to Parkinson's, but to all long-term health challenges? How might that change the future of healthcare for every single one of us? It's definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining me for this explainer.